So just a quick recap. I'm picking Stipe Miocic to win the rematch against Junior Dos Santos. I feel like this will probably be a knockout in the second or third round. In the Joanna versus Jessica Andrade fight, I am picking Joanna Jędrzejczyk to win this fight by decision, but I will not be surprised if Andrade is able to win this fight by knockout. For Maia versus Masvidal, again, I'm predicting Damian Maia will win this fight. As far as whether I think it would be decision or sub, I feel like it could go either way. Masvidal will probably be able to defend for a while, but I could certainly, if I have to make a pick, I'll say that Maia does get the submission here. He does get a rear naked choke. And then Frankie Edgar versus Yair Rodriguez. I think that Frankie Edgar is going to be able to win this fight by decision. He's going to be able to take advantage of Yair's wildness and get him down to the ground and be able to keep him there, be able to dominate and get a win, probably 30-27 on all three judges' scorecards. The final fight on the main card is going to be a very big fight at flyweight. Whether or not it'll determine the next flyweight challenger, I don't believe it will. I think Ray Borg is probably going to be the next guy there. Although, if Henry Cejudo loses to Sergio Pettis, there could be an argument made that Sergio Pettis would be the next guy up, but even still, I think Ray Borg's probably got that locked down. Either way, just to break this fight down really quickly, obviously Cejudo is coming off of 2 straight losses. He had the loss to Mighty Mouse, where he got him taken down, or he took him down once early in the round, but Mighty Mouse was able to use his butterfly hooks to kind of create some space, kicked away, got back up, and then when they clinched again, Mighty Mouse just landed enough knees to the body that Cejudo eventually went down and got the loss. And then the next fight was the fight with Joseph Benavidez, which was a very close fight. I thought they probably got the decision right, giving it to Benavidez, but it was extremely close. Either way, it proved that Cejudo is amongst the best flyweights in the world. He's ranked number 2 right now, which is a fair ranking for him. And you feel like he's going to keep it getting better over time. A guy like Sergio Pettis was one where there was a lot of hype behind him, and for a while we were kind of waiting for him to eventually get to the top of his division and get to a title shot, and that never really quite happened. This will be a good opportunity for him against Cejudo. Pettis is pretty good off his back, pretty similar to Anthony in a way. Not quite as dangerous on the feet, but still a pretty good kickboxer. But I feel like this is the kind of matchup for Cejudo that's going to work out really well in his favor. I'd assume that Cejudo should be able to take him down relatively easy and be able to control him from there. As far as whether or not he gets a finish, I wouldn't count it. I think this is probably going to be a decision win for Cejudo, but I think it'll be a pretty clear win for Cejudo. Either way, unless he does get just an amazing finish, I don't think he could really be ready to throw his name in the title picture, but either way, it's still going to be an exciting fight, and to have 2 top 6 guys going on the first fight of the main card, that's pretty good for us, and we're pretty lucky as fans. I think that's a good fight, though, on the FX card, the main event of the FX card. Now, what's really surprising here to me is the odds more than anything. On some odd sites, the higher-ranked fighter, number 3 overall Eddie Alvarez, is actually the underdog. He's going to be fighting against Dustin Poirier. Now, for me, this feels like a fight. This is a fight where when I saw the odds, I jumped on it right away and I put money on Alvarez. If this was a fight that happens back in November when Alvarez was the champion, I don't see any way that Dustin Poirier is even within plus 200 as an underdog, let alone now where he's in the minuses. I feel like, the Conor McGregor loss was a very bad loss for Eddie Alvarez, but he had never lost a fight like that in the past. He's one of those guys where if you beat him, you'd have to go through hell to get a W against him. And for Conor McGregor to make it look as easy as he did, I feel like people are starting to sell Eddie a little shorter than they should be selling him at this point. So in this fight, Poirier, he's been looking good recently too. He had that fight with Jim Miller where he messed up his leg, throwing too many leg kicks and getting checked. But again, it wasn't like he dominated Jim Miller necessarily. So for him to go from a close fight with Jim Miller to all of a sudden just blowing out Eddie Alvarez, I don't know that I would see that coming. Yes, Poirier hits very hard. Anytime you have a guy like Poirier who can hit really hard, there's always a chance that it's that puncher's chance, really. But I don't see him getting it done against Eddie Alvarez. I think Alvarez is going to show everybody why he was the champion, show everybody why he's considered one of the top lightweights in the world, and he'll get his victory. Next fight on the card is going to be Chaz Skelly versus Jason Knight. Jason Knight has been looking fantastic of late. He had that win over Alex Caceres. I think even with a guy like Chaz Skelly, who's got a 17-2 record, what I've seen out of Knight has been really impressive, even if he seems like a bit of a douchebag and maybe not the easiest guy to cheer for. His skill set's great. He's a very tough boxer, really sharp on the ground, very good at taking the back, and really has a good eye for the finish. Next fight is Krzysztof Jotko, who is ranked number 9, versus David Branch, the former World Series of Fighting 2-weight champion. He's returned to the UFC after a long time. When he had his first run in there, he wasn't quite that successful, but now he's obviously looked really good in the World Series of Fighting. But the fact that he's fought in the UFC before, the octagon jitters thing isn't going to apply to him quite as much. For Jotko, he's one of these guys where I still don't know how good he is. Obviously, he hits extremely hard, but it's hard. Sometimes with guys like that who are able to finish fights early, you don't always know whether it's just like, I guess it's hard to explain, but sometimes you can't tell if they're incredibly technical, if they're just really good at finding openings, what exactly it is about them that's getting them these early finishes. And then as far as Dave Branch goes, he's obviously had a lot of fights at different weights. He's looked fantastic of late. If I'm going to have to pick a winner of this fight, I'm going to say Dave Branch, but I say that very unsure of myself because what I've seen of Jotko, it's really tough to pick against him based off what I've seen recently, but his opponents haven't had the biggest names, and that's really about all I can hold against him. The next fight on the card is Marco Polo Reyes versus James Vick. This one just seems like a fight where you're going to have two guys who are just going at it. This is likely to be a contender for fight of the night. I don't know that it's going to win it with all the great fights on this card, but it's definitely going to be an exciting fight regardless. And on the Fight Pass prelims so far, assuming that there aren't any issues at the weigh-ins, we've got 5 fights on there, headlined by Jessica Aguilar versus Courtney Casey. Both of these two are really good. I think Casey's a bit underrated, and I feel like she's actually got a really good chance of pulling an upset here. You have Jared Gordon versus Michael Quinones. Don't really know a whole lot about either of these two guys, so I'm not going to make a pick on that fight. You have Chase Sherman versus Rashad Coulter. Sherman, I believe, fought Justin Ledet, and I remember watching that fight, but I don't know anything about Coulter, so again, it's tough for me to make a pick on that one. Sherman showed some good signs there, but he was clearly not the better technical striker in that fight, and it kind of showed, but you'd assume he's still getting better, so there's a good chance for him to get in the win column here and look good in the process. There's Gabriel Benitez versus Enrique Barzola. Barzola, very good fighter. I don't remember if he won the Ultimate Fighter Latin Americas or not, or if he was a finalist there, but he's a really talented fighter. I don't know much about Benitez, but either way, this should be a pretty exciting fight. And the first fight on the card will be Joaquim Christensen versus a name that I don't even know if I should try to pronounce, but let's go right ahead. Gadzhimurad Antigulov. So, don't know much about him. I'm assuming because he's Russian, he's probably a great wrestler, but that's kind of a lazy assumption on my part, and that's really not helpful if you're trying to bet on this fight.